In the wrestling world, the people are represented by two separate but unequally important groups. The wrestlers and bookers, who literally do all the hard work, and the fans, who endlessly nitpick and overanalyze everything they do. These are their stories.
It's Warhorse, and you need to shut your mouth, open your eyes, and clean out your ears, because it's time to listen to the Raw and Order podcast. That's right, they're bringing you the best in all that meaty podcasty goodness in one, an hour? Two? Who cares? Who gives a shit? You need to listen to it right now, or else Warhorse is gonna, roll your ass!
Welcome to another episode of Raw and Order, the Wrestling Booking Unit, the only wrestling podcast on the planet, I guess. Prove me wrong. I am your host, Detective Mark Smarks, and I am joined, as always, by my partner in crime fighting, District Attorney Vincent Kayfabe. What's going on, man? How are you?
Did you just claim we're the only wrestling podcast on the
planet?
Planet? At all.
Get in the comments.
The only one. We're it. That's it.
So, okay. No JLB this week again. He's still down in Mexico, or as he said, on Mexico.
Which is awkward.
Yeah. I still don't know how that could be consensual, but
Like everyone.
All of it, yes.
It's probably just the peacocks on the beach, or peahens on the beach, because
I didn't see no girls there.
Or men, for that matter.
Or men, yeah, you're right.
I didn't see humans.
I'm not gonna kink shame this.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess we're kink shaming the peahens, so
well, I don't feel like bestiality could ever be consensual.
I would agree there. This is a weird way to start this podcast, though.
Hey, we're not the ones who said we were on Mexico.
Indeed. Maybe he's just been smoking all of Mexico, so he's on Mexico.
Roll up a little Mexico, put it in my pipe.
Yeah,
pretty Mexico.
I don't remember anything. I've been on Mexico all week.
That is a unique Mexican high. Wow.
But
I feel like that's probably a terminology at Mexican high.
I feel like the only person on this podcast who might be qualified to talk about terminology at all is the one who we're making fun of right now. Not that he's done a ton of drugs by any means.
I feel like he's done more than I have, though.
But he has certainly done more than I have. So,
is that where you put your weed in your enchiladas?
Yeah.
Or marijuana mole?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a thing? I feel like
that actually really is a good topic to maybe sometime or another think about. Like here in America, we have edibles, right? They're really popular. Gummies laced with THC, all of this stuff, right? Dude, what do they lace down in Mexico? I mean, can you get a THC burrito?
I mean, you can get stuff laced with other things than weed.
Well, you can, but my point is, here in America, the big one is weed, especially with legalized marijuana.
Yes.
We've got gummies, the dispensaries in areas where it is legal, which Nebraska is not one of those. But in areas where it is legal,
is that your way of saying don't come to your house?
No, you can come to my house all you want. Don't come to my neighbors' houses, though. They about twice a week we come home and light candles all over our kitchen because our apartment smells like pot because of the neighbors. But anyways, and I just think if we legalized it, they could smoke it wherever and not holed up in their house hiding from the popos. So then our apartment wouldn't smell like weed all the time. It's my thought process. Anyways. But edibles are the big thing. So there's gummies and there's cupcakes and brownies and all of this stuff. And I just wonder, can you get pot enchiladas? Is that a thing?
Or mole,
Mm-hmm.
or I mean, it doesn't have to be enchiladas.
No, enchiladas. I mean, tamales, pot tamales. Ooh,
That's
that
hot tamales.
that literally just writes itself. The ad campaign for that,
Hot tamales.
possibly.
That might be
Anyways,
Anyway, so we're marketing for marijuana companies, and we don't.
yes.
actually
Hashtag
use
not
marijuana.
sponsored. Come on.
Hashtag still. I don't know what free product would do for you in this instance. Probably not much.
Not much, but maybe I could.
Maybe you could send us some caffeinated beverages though, without
caffeinated beverages would be
THC
okay.
in them.
My thoughts are like, if I could just get my mother-in-law to drink a few of them, she wouldn't willingly knowing what's in them, but once she did it, maybe she'd mellow a bit. Maybe, I don't know. Anyways,
Make her some brownies for Thanksgiving, bud.
she is currently doing the what's the other one? No, the it's not THC, but it's the one that's legal here.
Oh, the like D8 or whatever it is.
No, CBD. She
Yeah.
does the CBD because it's really good for her arthritis and all of that stuff. And I joked that
Do
she
you
was an
really
addict
want your
once, and-
mom to get high the very first time when you're around, standing on the table doing zooey, zooey, zooey?
Dude, it couldn't be worse than what she does already.
North
Which is-
Carolina,
which
raise
is-
up, take your shit.
which-
Okay,
Which is mostly accused me of being a communist and fucking ruining her daughter.
if the shoes fits, where's it?
I'm a socialist, not a communist. There's a difference. Big difference. But we are not going to get into that. We're talking wrestling today. So I wanted to start off. Before we get into everything, we're still technically part of the Tatnisco Podcast Network, even though it's now a radio show. And we haven't started submitting episodes to that yet because we're discussing. But check out the Tatnis Radio. You can find it on Facebook, Tatnis Radio, and check it out there. I wanted to talk about something. I sent you this as a hashtag cringe wrestling take earlier this week.
Boy,
days
that's
ago.
a big one. This is probably part of our big show.
Yes.
Well,
You made a big promise for us, and so now I felt like I had to break out this big gun.
I have two, one of which you will argue with me about, the other of which will be worthy of a moment of silence. So go on.
Will I argue with you on something? Well, let me put on my shocked face.
That's why is it that your shocked face is the same face you make when you're having your O's?
How do you know that?
A gentleman never tells. I don't. Move on. Let's go. Let's talk about Jericho not being the greatest of all time.
Yeah. So Pro Wrestling World on Facebook posted. This is your GOAT, Painmaker, Wizard, Ocho, Lionheart, whatever you feel like calling him. This man is not the greatest ever. As someone who's been a fan of wrestling for 20 plus years, I've never seen Jericho's allure. What does he do different or better than anyone? Can he wrestle? Sure. Can he talk? Sure. But that can go for tons of guys from not only his day, but today too. Winning the Ring of Honor title recently does nothing for that brand and does nothing for his career. Not to mention how annoying he is on commentary these days. Save me the he's a heel bullshit, there's a difference. Greatest talker, Heyman. Greatest in-ring worker, arguably it's Cena. Jericho may not be in my top 50 ever. So here's the deal. I understand if you don't think Jericho's the GOAT, right?
Nope, that's fair.
Debate back and forth on
there's
it.
only one GOAT.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
GOAT is greatest of all time. And you could make a serious argument for people like Hulk Hogan or Ric Flair.
I would not put him as the GOAT in those two categories.
Mm-hmm.
And putting him as the GOAT as a wrestler, which is a combination of categories.
Well, and more specifically, You say greatest talk. This guy says greatest talker Paul Heyman. Arguably, yes. I'm not going to really debate too much on that. But
Except for you have Brian, you have Bobby the
you
Brain,
had Bobby the
you
Brain
have,
Heenan,
you have The Rock.
The Rock. Yeah.
Well,
Hey,
hello, Ambrosia.
hello, Ambrosia. Welcome.
Pleasure to have you here.
Um, but yeah, Bobby the Brain Heenan, arguably, there are tons of them
Rock
out
the
there.
Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Rock the Dwayne Johnson.
you might be able to say Triple H. That interview
Mhm.
Triple H cut may be the greatest single interview of all time.
Yeah.
We cut it and said, "I am the damn game."
Yeah. So, Stone Cold, I mean,
Stone
these are
Cold.
all legitimate arguments for greatest talker. Heyman is in the list, although
Hell,
I would
Razor
argue,
Ramon could be in the list. Of
I would
greatest
argue that Heyman does not belong in this list because he's never been an in-ring performer ever, like in terms of regular wrestling and stuff like that. All the other people we named wrestled as well as talked.
In fact,
Uh,
I think Cena belongs more in the better talker list
yeah.
than he does in ring.
In terms of in terms of in-ring talker, there are tons of people like Bobby the Brain was legitimately a wrestler before he retired from that due to back injuries, and went to managerial slash announcer desk, right? So he fulfills both of those, but Heyman doesn't. However, it's the greatest in-ring worker. Arguably, it's Cena part that's the real cringe part of this.
5 moves to doom, buddy.
I like John Cena.
So do I.
He is entertaining. He puts on decent matches, and towards the end of his career, had no problem with putting people over. Right?
And truly may be a better actor than Dwayne The Rock Johnson if given enough time. He is definitely funnier than Dwayne The Rock Johnson in his roles in movies.
Yeah. Boom. Sorry, responding. But yeah, but in-ring worker, I mean, here's the deal is if you want to say in-ring worker and just argue that, then you've got to include people like Kenny Omega. You got to include people like Kazuchika Okada, Bruno Sammartino's. There's a lot of people if you're talking that, hey, Jeff, we agree with you. JLB does suck because he's down in Mexico still. Consensual with Mexico. Anyways,
And JLB sucks very well.
yeah, it's very well. Mm-hmm.
He stopped on his way to Mexico. That's all I'm saying.
But when you talk about if you're separating out into those two categories, then there's a lot of argument on both of those. But here's the deal: is greatest of all time is not about individual categories; it's about everything. And there have been very, very few people who do everything as well as fucking Jericho did, right?
Correct.
Or does. And that means as a whole, he is a really good talker. Maybe not the single-handedly greatest of all time talker, but really good talker. He's a really good in-ring performer. Maybe not.
He's a safe in-ring performer,
Yeah.
which is important too.
Maybe not by himself the greatest of all time in-ring performer, but he's very, very good. He is extremely good at getting almost any gimmick that he wants to over. Almost every gimmick that he decides to do goes over. And
Hell, some of them he doesn't want to go over well.
Well, and so someone in the thing brought up how he does things. The person said, well, that GFY went over like a turd. And I go, well, the problem with that is it was all a timing thing. He trademarked GFY. It was going to be his trademark. And then fucking Moxley in the ring says, go fuck yourself to someone else on the episode that he was going to debut it as his thing. That's nothing he could control. And I'm relatively certain if he had
I don't know that Moxley knew, by the way.
No, Moxley didn't do it to sabotage him. There was no communication. But I'm just saying it's a timing thing. If Jericho's GFY had came first and Moxley hadn't done his own thing there, I am pretty certain GFY would have gone over. Right? The problem is he was second to that particular thing.
Fiddle.
But he got you just made the list over. He got you idiot over. He got the Painmaker over. He got
Man of 1,004 holds over.
Yep, Man of 1,004 holds over. He got the Wizard over now. I'll
say that I'm glad that one's over. That it's over.
It's not over though. That's the problem. Is they're still calling him the Wizard on TV every week, but it's gotten over. People.
Yes, it has.
I
don't like it, but yes, it has.
But that's the thing is now, and that's why it's. I understand if you don't include him in your greatest of all time, right?
I understand if you don't put him in your top 50. If you don't put him in your top 10, I get it.
I get it, but then the real cringe is saying Cena is arguably the greatest worker of all time. That is a slap in the face to a lot of people. And again, I like Cena. I think he was very good for what he did. But he was not the greatest worker of all time. You mentioned the 5 moves of Doom, which he eventually latched onto and created the 6th move of Doom. Right? But in the end, he put him in the ring with Kazuchika Okada, and Kazuchika Okada wrestled circles around. Put him in the ring with Zack Sabre Jr., and Zack Sabre Jr. wrestles circles around him.
Put him in the ring with Seth Rollins for
with Seth Rollins, yeah, or Bruno Sammartino, or fucking Bob Backlund. There have been hundreds of workers. Brett, Shawn Michaels, fucking Steve Austin pre-neck injury, Steve Austin post-neck injury. So that's the real part of that cringe wrestling take that I wanted to kind of focus on, because it's like, I mean, really, as soon as he said that, the concept of him knowing anything about wrestling, and
I think, you want to talk ring work? The Miz.
Well, if you want to talk specifically ring work, I don't know if the Miz is up there, but specifically ring work, Dolph Ziggler's up there.
Yeah,
fucking Kurt Angle,
right? Brock.
Yeah,
when Brock gets a long match, Brock puts on a show. I
don't even need to leave the fucking ruthless aggression era.
He's at the same level as Batista for in-ring work. And I'm not saying that Batista's bad. I'm saying that nobody talks Batista as a goat for in-ring work.
Let's see here. You could argue a guy like Al Snow in-ring work was better than...
I think Al Snow's gift is character work.
Was character work, but he's got a lot of knowledge, and his in-ring skill was up there. But you could make that argument, right?
Which is another piece to that. Like that, the key is that this guy assumes that there's only 2 pieces to being a goat.
Well, yeah, you could argue that CM Punk's a better in-ring worker, right?
He's certainly not a better backstage worker.
He the name that does not like to get mentioned, Chris Benoit, definitely a better in-ring worker.
Absolutely.
Eddie Guerrero, better in-ring worker.
Dean Malenko. Pretty much every
Dean Malenko, yeah.
Every cruiserweight ever.
I'm going down the ruthless aggression era roster, because I want to point out he wasn't even the best in-ring worker in his main era, right? Cody Rhodes is arguably a better worker, in-ring worker.
Dustin
Rhodes, definitely. Just going through. I already said Edge. I would argue Edge, especially during that era, was a better in-ring worker.
I would even debate maybe R-Truth.
Shane Helms or Gregory Shane Helms
or Sugar Shane.
Yeah.
Or the Hurricane.
Would argue as he's a better in-ring worker. There's in fact, I'm gonna be simple here, and again, I preface this by saying I like John Cena. I do. I think he brought a lot to the sport. He brought a lot of exposure to the sport. He was very good on the mic, especially later on when he started being more comfortable with putting other people over and a little bit less selfish. He was really, really good. But frankly, when you look at the Ruthless Aggression era, you know, there it's hard to find someone that I wouldn't put above him in terms of in-ring worker, in terms of skill. Like Jim Duggan, I put below him in-ring worker.
What?
Yeah, but like John Morrison I'd put above him, right? Hands down. Let's see, below him, Johnny Stromboli. I'd put Johnny Stromboli below him. In ring worker.
Wait, did you say John Morrison would be below him?
No, above him.
Oh.
But Johnny Stromboli would be below him. Kofi Kingston would be above him. But Lance Cade would be below him. Lance Storm would be above him, but geez, I have Marty Jannetty below him, and that's only because of the fact that he got Marty Jannetty'd.
Marty Jannetty is a gross human being.
He is a gross human being. Unfortunately, he was actually a good worker. But that's what it comes down to. Randy Orton's a better worker than John Cena by leaps and bounds, right? Yeah. Rob Van Dam was a better worker. And so now if
Tommy Dreamer's probably on the same level as him.
Yeah. Now, if you want to argue that John Cena belongs above Jericho on the greatest of all time list, that's a different thing altogether, because the greatest of all time list is communalative, right? You can be a really good worker and horrible on the mic and horrible in character work and have a very short career.
So by comparison, in different sports, there are different GOATs. In football, the obvious GOAT as a quarterback in the NFL is Tom Brady. No, people do not tend to argue with that. They do not argue that he's the greatest player of all time, because obviously, he couldn't play a lick of defense to save his soul.
Yeah.
In the NFL.
In
terms of greatest player of all time, it's probably Deion Sanders, who can play both sides of the ball and be successful on both sides of the ball.
I will say I do know some 49ers fans who would say that despite all of the evidence for Tom Brady, that it's actually Joe Montana.
And that's fair to make that argument. It's also fair for the people who make the argument that LeBron's the greatest basketball player of all time. But at the end of the day, Michael Jordan's the greatest basketball player of all time. But it's fair for people to have that discussion. What's not fair is to come into professional wrestling and treat it like basketball. Because you can't, in football, you just simply cannot name a greatest football player of all time. You can name a greatest of lots of different positions, but you can't name the greatest football player of all time. But in basketball, they do name, it is relatively, you're limited on the number of people on the court. And so it is fair for people to make those arguments about LeBron or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Michael Jordan. What's not fair is to say LeBron's not the greatest basketball player of all time. In fact, so much so that I would say, hands down, no ifs, ands, or buts, Tony Kukoc is a better forward.
Mm-hmm.
In what fucking world are you smoking? Tony Kukoc was not a better forward than LeBron. Tony Kukoc was a great team player, but he was only effective when he had Michael Jordan there.
But
And
so
that's really what the argument is.
I found a good example of someone I would put lower on the list than John Cena in Ruthless Aggression era. The Sandman.
Yeah.
Love me some Sandman. In-ring worker, he was not.
Speaker, he was not.
No.
This is where
he had the charisma.
One of these guys.
He had the ring entrance and character.
He had character work. There's a big difference between a good in-ring speaker and great character work. And so for that reason, again, when you spend your entire career as one character, or two in John Cena's instance, three, you could count two different rap era versions of him. I'll give you that. But he didn't ever really become a different character than hustle, loyalty, respect. Anyway, so under that same token, since we are talking about great in-ring workers, we can talk about a great in-ring worker who we already mentioned. And you sent me something earlier this week also about Seth Rollins and a note that he had written, allegedly, nobody has evidence that this directly came from Seth Rollins, about being the second man, about being behind the face of the company. And that is what John Cena and The Rock are the two greatest of all time at, is being the face of the company. Third behind that is probably Hulk Hogan, and then fourth would be Roman. I would say Bruno Sammartino's fifth. So Seth Rollins talks about not ever being able to be the face of the company, even though he's a better wrestler than Roman. What was your hot take on that? I know what mine was.
Just to clarify, that was from an interview that Seth Rollins did with BT Sports.
Okay.
So it is 100% verified that he wrote this. He said
okay that he said that. Okay.
Yeah. So, the quote that you're referring to, if I'm correct, is he said, even when I had won the title at WrestleMania, cashed in, great moment, it still felt like I was second fiddle to Roman Reigns.
As you were.
No, I've never felt like in my time in WWE that the company was like, yep, he's our guy, put his face on everything. I don't know, man. I wonder often if because I live in the Roman era, that's just never going to happen. The only time I was even considered, I think, for the main event of WrestleMania was when he got leukemia. The best I can hope for is to be the Edge to his John Cena, the Randy Savage to his Hulk Hogan. Sometimes I just feel like that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Doesn't mean that I don't think that I'm better than he is, or that I can perform, or I can draw at that level. I certainly think all those things, but it's not my sandbox. I don't make those decisions. And the thing is, he's not wrong.
I don't know. I think his wife's the only person who can draw at the level that Roman does. For that,
I think he could draw at the level that Roman does. I think he was never given the chance to, mostly because prior to Roman's current run, which he's killing it at, I want to be clear. Prior to that, he was, and we've talked about this before, he was over with crowds, yes, but he was not over with the fans, right? And a lot of us felt like he was being pushed down our throats. And because that administration in WWE, which recently has changed, but that administration was so high on push Roman to the moon, that I think they held back on giving anyone else a real shot. And that's why he said in there that when Roman had to take time off for leukemia, he got close because that was the first time in his entire WWE career that they did not have Roman there.
Sorry.
And they had to let someone else be the man for a bit. But they didn't really give him the ball and let him run. I think he could potentially draw at that level, but as long as Roman is here, and especially with the run Roman's on now, I don't know if they'll ever give him the shot, right? I do think his wife can draw at that level. I think he could draw at that level if given the chance. But I don't think, it's just like Macho Man, I think, could have drawn at the Hulk Hogan levels if Hulk Hogan didn't exist. you know.
Yeah. Here's a name that's been a face of the organization multiple times that does not draw at that top level, and that's Flair, and he's oftentimes in that GOAT conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But Flair drew at that level maybe a year in his life.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that's always tough to keep in mind, heels typically don't draw. And that's not a knock on heels. It's not their job to draw, right?
Correct.
Their job is to give the face something to draw against, right?
Yes.
And so, because 90% of Flair's career was heel, and the other 10% was him being face just to set up his eventual heel turn.
Well, it also was never. It didn't exist in the heel is over era.
Mm-hmm.
He never lived in the current era where heel can be over.
But his job was always, and the heel's job always, is to make the face look good. That's it.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so Ric Flair didn't draw because he wasn't supposed to. What he was supposed to do was make Ricky Steamboat look really good. So Ricky Steamboat drew. Sting looked real good. So Sting drew. Hulk Hogan, make Hulk Hogan look good. So Hulk Hogan drew. So
and Flair was exceptional with that.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
I do think that this interview is at the very least slightly kayfabe.
I think that's where they're going. Yeah,
I think this interview is all about setting up the potential future run for Seth Rollins. I've never been the guy, so now I'm gonna take this, because they've teased it. In fact, they teased it so much and then didn't pull the trigger on it when Vince was in charge that Seth is the only guy that Roman can't beat clean, and still is the only guy that Roman couldn't beat clean, right? Roman eventually got wins over Seth, but they still weren't clean, right? And so to have this eventually set up where Seth is like, I'm going to show that I am the guy. I am the guy to run this company. I think this is kind of setting up for that.
Sure.
While we're at a decent stopping point.
Ooh. Yeah.
So.
Scissor me, daddy ass. Put up two of them. Let's do.
1 through 6.
1 and 6.
1 and 6.
I mean, in Brazil, I'll just say 2 and 1, but
pack. I mean, I'm gonna end up opening all tonight, so
yeah,
because I'm not a fan of spreading them out.
See, Ambrosia 21.
21. Damn it. Card number 1.
Ooh, Sheamus.
Sheamus.
Not a hollow.
Not a hollow.
Red, white, and blue, it looked like.
This is a good pack. Those are the standard ones for this one, so.
Seth Franklin Rollins.
Yeah. This is a good pack. Ow. It was a good pack. So, this is still a good card.
Tommaso. Right on.
And then for my chase card, my orange hollow.
Running anchor, we got. Fuck. All right, open the other pack.
You were doing so good, Pack.
We can't end on that.
You were doing so good.
X that pack.
Okay, card number 1.
Uno. Angel.
Angel Garza.
Garza.
Pack card number 2.
Baby.
Ding dong, Bailey.
A lot of people impressed with her this week.
Card number 3.
Oh. Don't ruin this pack with a 4th one.
And the 4th one, it's just the prismatic version of the regular red, white, and blues. But it's not horrible.
Gilbert. Oh, no, that's Goldberg.
Yeah. Oldberg. Not a horrible pack, but still. Like, I would have rather have gotten
we
the
still
hollow.
haven't named
like,
a Goldberg match for Saudi Arabia. That's weird.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to do a Goldberg match, but
I think he's still got a contract. May as well do it in Saudi Arabia. Move on with life.
Did you see what the latest speculation is?
What's that?
So they announced one thing. Well, it didn't so much get announced as leaked, but it came out that there's going to be a special guest referee for the Fight Pit match at Extreme Rules, right?
Okay.
And
I didn't see this news. Is it Oldberg?
No.
Is it Brock Lobster?
No, but the Brock Lobster plays into it in the end.
Brock Lobster.
So the Fight Pit match is going to be Matt Riddle versus Seth freaking Rollins, right? There's going to be a special guest referee, and it's reportedly going to be Daniel Cormier.
Ooh, could see Brock Lobster show up.
Mm-hmm. Which is why the speculation is that they're doing this to build up to Brock versus Cormier at Saudi Arabia a month later.
The match we didn't get to see the sequel.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. Cain Velasquez still not with the company. Still released, sounds like.
Yes.
Would have been nice to see him be successful. Anyway, so I want to give us a brief moment of silence. Probably one of the most influential men in all of professional wrestling history passed, 2 days ago? Friday?
Yeah, Friday.
Friday. At Japan's own Antonio Inoki passed this week. I thought he was 59. Is that right?
Oh, I think it was a little older than that, but
not very old. Well, anyway, regardless. So Antonio Inoki, barring Vince, probably the most influential man in
79.
professional wrestling. 79, that's what it was. Barring Vince, probably the most influential man in wrestling history. So Vince being number one, Bischoff obviously being third. So I mean, none of those guys are wrestlers. That's the business side. Well, Antonio Inoki was. That's the business side though that all of them influenced. And Inoki was a dick and wouldn't put anybody over, but also one of the most influential men in professional wrestling history.
Yes.
So,
I mean, the simple fact is, without him, obviously New Japan wouldn't exist, right? Because he's the founder of that. But arguably WCW wouldn't have existed, at least not in the form
that it
that
did.
we sought, because he was influential with Ted Turner, and eventually a friend of Eric Bischoff's, and their relationship was very influential in the forming of a lot of the cruiserweight talent swaps that happened
Well,
in.
and the amount of times, I mean, he was influential in numerous wrestlers' lives. Stone Cold Steve Austin being one of them. Anybody who wrestled in Japan in some way, shape, or form was probably influenced by Antonio Inoki, which that includes guys like Chris Jericho, that includes John Moxley, that includes guys like AJ Styles, that includes guys like Kenny Omega. So you can't just shave him down to. And again, this is a guy who legitimately beat the shit out of a guy who didn't play his part, that was way bigger and supposedly way tougher than him. But also, this is a guy who knew what he was doing
Mhm.
and knew how to sell to a Japanese audience. So, probably reasonably influential in the advent of ROH, because their style was a lot more like the Japanese style of product. And so, I mean, I can't help but think that he influenced our current AEW product. So, um, not directly, but indirectly, that man's the wake of his life echoes through all of professional wrestling. So,
Yeah. Also important to note, Inoki is a former WWF heavyweight champion,
yeah.
although WWF does not acknowledge it. Uh, he beat Bob Backlund in Japan in 1979. Backlund then won the rematch, but WWF president declared the rematch a no contest due to interference, and Inoki remained champion. But Inoki refused the title because he says, I lost it. So it was declared vacant, and Backlund later defeated Bobby Duncombe to regain the title. But WWF's title history listed Backlund's
One
first
solid
reign
title,
as one solid reign. Um, so,
making his the second longest of all time, right behind one Bruno Sammartino.
yes. Um, and
So,
so,
the other piece I wanted to get to, and I know you're going to do rundowns, but what in the hell was that promo on Wednesday night? That was that reminded me, and I know people are wondering which one I'm talking about. If you watched the Huskers yesterday versus Indiana, it was the sloppiest Husker win I think I've ever seen in my life. It was a sloppy football game, horrible, just horribly sloppy, and it reminded me exactly of Wednesday night's promo cut by Soraya.
so
The whole segment. Now, I don't know if Britt was sent out to save her. I don't know if that's the design of the promo.
no.
It was just a shit fucking
So,
promo.
so here's what it came down to. I don't think it was as bad as most people say it was. I
Oh,
personally thought, but I also, will point out that that was the first time she delivered a kayfabe promo in 4 years, 5 years, right? Especially on TV. She's nervous, right? She stumbled a few times. I don't think it was as bad. I think the promo went exactly the way it was planned. The Britt Baker interruption went exactly as the way it was planned. The whole thing was set up there. But she stumbled mostly because nerves. Um, I would argue that we've seen worse promos in both AEW and WWE in the last month, and we've given them passes. But because she was brought in to such fanfare, we expected higher from her, and her nerves got the better of her. And I think that's really what it came down to, because I don't think it was that bad. I really don't. A lot of people drew ire to her for what they deemed a dig at WWE in the promo, where she mentioned it's nice to have a boss that listens to you. And they're like, WWE kept you employed for years after you got injured. You know, you should be thankful and not dogging them or whatever. And two things can be true at the same time. WWE did keep her employed for a long time after she was injured in ring working for them. WWE also did not listen to any of her pitches for ways to keep her on TV and keep using her. Right? They decided that she was better off used as a ambassador than as an actual on-screen performer. They've done the same thing with Titus O'Neil. They've decided that he's better as an ambassador than as an on-screen performer. And when your whole career and training has been based on being a performer in some way, shape, or form, and then you're not, and you keep going to your manager, heck, even if it's not as a performer, right? If you have a job and for years you keep going to your manager and saying, hey, I would like to do something more. I would like to do this. I would like to do that. And they say, no, but we're still going to keep you hired. You're going to do this other job that we don't like. You can be thankful to have a job and yet also angry that they didn't listen to you and didn't let your input help, right? That they didn't utilize you to a level
Correct.
better.
Yep.
Both of those things can be true. Yes, Vince McMahon and WWE kept her employed. That is true. But the last time she appeared on WWE TV was pre-pandemic, definitely.
It was when she got injured.
I think they might have had her.
Well, yeah, on TV, I guess. Yeah, she was managing Asuka and Kyrie.
So yeah.
So I think her last one was taking the mist to the face.
Let's see here. She appeared on Skype in March of 2020. Right? So that would have been right at the beginning of pandemic.
Okay.
Where she announced Bayley would defend her title in a 6-way against Sasha Banks and Dana Brooke. And
so her general manager role was the last role.
Prior to that, her last appearance was October 28th of 2019, when Asuka misted her in the face. She then was a contributor for WWE Backstage for the 2 years it was on. I guess it technically was still on. I don't know. Anyways. But again, that's my point is, yes, she kept her job, but I think all of us have at least at one point in a job experienced I could bring so much more to this job if they'd just let me. Right? And then the job saying, nah, we don't need you. We're not going to use you any more than this. This is all we're going to have you do, right?
So that's the excuse for a bad promo.
That's the excuse for the line in the promo. But again,
I don't give a shit about the line. The whole thing was
my argument was I don't think it was as bad as you're saying it was.
Yeah.
I feel like I can go back on Raw and SmackDown over the last month and AEW and Dynamite and Rampage, and I can find in the last month probably 4 or 5 promos that were worse than that on those other ones. But they
So
didn't come from Saraya fresh back on her first mic appearance of the much vaunted signed Saraya in AEW. And that's what it comes down to, is right? Is here's the deal is Saraya was known for doing good promos. That's was kind of her thing. She was good in the ring and she was good on the mic. And so this would be roughly the equivalent of if John Cena came back and stumbled during a promo, right? People would bash it because they'd say it's a bad promo because they have higher expectations for them. But I have seen in the last month on AEW fucking Peter Avalon give a promo that I love Peter Avalon, worse than this promo. Ryan Nemeth has given promos on screen worse than this promo. But here's the deal. No one expects their promos to be fire. People expected her promo to be better, and I think that's the thing. Because I don't think it was as bad. She stumbled one time.
I will say that I think it was a poorly written promo, and I'm going to even make a hot take. Tony Khan needs help. So this is where we're going to go, and you can either go here and tweet at me, or you can go...
Or you can get in the comments.
There and tweet at him, or you can get in the comments. You can say, was it a good promo or a bad promo?
Yeah.
We'll keep talking. You can listen to the promo.
Yeah. But here's what
11 minutes of garbage.
You say Tony Khan needs help. I'm gonna take one moment and just point out this also plays into what I'm saying here. This was not just her first promo back in 2 years, right? It was also her first non-scripted promo.
Well, then.
And possibly ever.
Script that motherfucker.
And so nerves play into it. Nerves play into a lot. I was a theater major in college and actually professionally paid actor and a DJ for 10 years. And I can tell you that when things aren't scripted or things go wrong, your nerves can play into things way more than you believe. So, I don't think it was as bad as everyone, as you're saying it was. In fact, 99% of the criticisms I've read online about it have been entirely based on why is she bashing WWE after they kept her employed. They haven't been saying it was a bad promo. They've been saying it had this bad moment in it. So you've been, so far, the only person that I've seen saying the promo as a whole was bad. And I am saying I disagree with you on that, I guess. Well,
you can.
Get in the comments. That's the rule.
So anyway, that was my big ones, was Antonio Inoki and, of course, that promo. I've seen me some bad promos. Not too many of them made me want to tune out immediately.
Again, I saw a worse promo from Bobby Fish on Impact Wrestling a week ago. But here's the deal. But that's what I'm saying. Your expectations for Impact are lower, so a bad promo from Impact is meh. Yeah, it's just Impact, whatever. Your expectations for Bobby Fish's promo are lower. So when Bobby Fish puts out a bad promo, you're like, whatever, it's just Impact, it's just Bobby Fish, right? This was Saraya doing her first promo on AEW TV after being gone and unseen of on WWE TV for 2 years, right? Expectations are higher. And when expectations are higher and it doesn't live up to those expectations, people bitch, right? To use a non-wrestling reference, when the Star Wars movies return after 20 years of not being in theaters and everything, and then they make a first sequel in a planned trio of sequels, and it's The Force Awakens. The expectations were up here, and this movie was never going to reach these expectations ever, ever, ever. And when it came out and it was here, people complained because it wasn't up here.
I don't really think it was here either. But again,
I liked The Force Awakens. I liked The Last Jedi even more. That's the hot take that people will come at me for. I didn't hate Last Skywalker. I didn't like it a ton because they set up some really good things in The Last Jedi that then they just retconned out because they didn't like that, and J.J. Abrams was back in charge, and so he's like, nah. The Last Jedi set up some really good things with anyone can be the hero, and then J.J. Abrams was like, nope, got to be special blood. She's got special blood. She's a Palpatine, and I didn't like that. So, but and again, we'll even go back farther, right? The prequel trilogy. Again, expectations were up here. They were never going to meet these expectations up here. So no matter where they fell down here, it wasn't up here. So everyone shits on them. I don't think they're up here, but I also don't think they're down here. I think on rewatching them recently, they're better than we gave them credit for. They're not great, but they are better than we gave them credit for. And most of their problems are George Lucas problems, not acting problems or on-screen problems.
I feel like they were Disney problems.
This was pre-Disney, the prequels.
Oh.
The prequels were pre-Disney.
Yeah, those were, yes. I thought you were talking about the sequels.
Nope, I said
trilogy.
Going back to the prequels. Okay. The prequels... the sequels, I think, are here. They're not up here, but I think as a whole, they're here. They went like this. Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Last Skywalker. So they average back out to here. Again, that's not here. And so people give them... Now, the prequels are like here as a whole. And they go...
hot take.
They go Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith.
I'll give you a hot take. I think Attack of the Clones is the best of the prequels.
I disagree with that, but I respect that opinion. Revenge of the Sith is by far the best.
I think Revenge of the Sith needed to be 2 movies for it to be properly done.
I think Attack of the Clones should be episode 1. Revenge of the Sith should have been episode 2, and then there should have been a third one that was just Order 66 of fucking Darth Vader hunting down and killing.
Yes, that's where they just failed miserably.
But
they just needed a movie of Jedis being murdered.
I think they fucking did Aayla Secura fucking dirty, and Say-10 fucking dirty. He just gets fucking murked while flying his little spaceship, and he's a fucking Jedi master. Fuck.
Yeah,
anyway,
Secura can't tell that her own trainer has no fucking clue that he's different. Just meh.
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing is she just gets gunned down by fucking clone troopers. Doesn't even block a single fucking blaster
attack.
Just like, oh, geez, they're bad. Oh, I'm dead.
Anyway, moving forward.
They also, I will say, Revenge of the Sith also fucking did fucking Kit Fisto dirty too. shows up and just gets murked by Palpatine in one motion.
That's because Palpatine was way more powerful than people gave him credit for.
He was way more powerful. Kit Fisto was also a fucking Jedi Master and a master of a lightsaber form that was specifically designed for defense like that. Kit Fisto was kind of a weird hyperfixation of mine in the 90s, so it's a different thing altogether. So
What? You obsessed about something in the 90s?
Hyperfixations are real. It's part of my undiagnosed spectrum disorder. So, WWE Raw started off with Bianca Belair versus Io Sky. It's good. I kind of wished they would have given Io a lot more, like, offense, but whatever. I'm really nervous about Alexa Bliss continuing to hold the fucking Lily doll again. Like, she had gone for a few weeks without holding the Lily doll, right? And then now these White Rabbit things all come out. And now she's holding the Lily doll every week.
Little news there this week with actual Bray's face.
Sort of. Bray's voice, sort of. So a lot of sort ofs in this. They're still throwing out a lot of red herrings too, but I'm 90% certain it's Bray. Here's the deal: if it's not Bray, fucking, there's gonna be.
Apparently, there was news that it was not originally planned to be Bray.
I saw that report.
To be Malachi Black, and I don't know if I believe that.
No, here's the deal: what that comes from is people reading into a quote from Dave Meltzer. And the quote from Dave Meltzer is, if you look at the source code, it includes references to the Aleister Black theme song, which we talked about last week.
Yeah.
Right? And people heard that and said, Dave Meltzer is reporting that it's supposed to be Aleister Black. Which is not what his statement said. It's important to note. Dave Meltzer has been wrong about things before. Dave Meltzer sometimes plays both sides of a story, but it's important to note that his quote did not say, this is or was supposed to be Aleister Black. It says that they used quotes from his theme song, which can make you think it might be Aleister Black. This also comes the same week that Aleister Black, Malachi Black, went on Instagram Live and said, point blank, I will be back on AEW in a few weeks or maybe a few months.
Right, yeah.
Now, we mentioned before, it's probably what he would say even if he was leaving. So, grain of salt there. But I think they've shown with these promos that they are 100% interested in setting up confusion and trying to keep you guessing. Because they know if the promos were just, oh, it's obviously Bray Wyatt, they wouldn't draw as much interest as if they were, well, maybe it's Baron Corbin. Well, maybe it's Malachi Black. Well, maybe it's fucking Ryback. Well, maybe it's Karrion Kross, right? So, I'm still pretty certain it's going to be Bray Wyatt. Although I say 90% certain it's Bray Wyatt. There's about 10% that it's actually not going to be just one person, but rather a faction that includes Bray Wyatt. And that some of these red herrings are hints to the faction. Because again, we haven't seen Baron Corbin on screen for a few weeks now.
What a terrifying swerve that would be.
He could go back to being the lone wolf as long as he didn't try to grow his hair out again. But anyways, I'm just still nervous about Bliss carrying the Lily doll again. I don't want her involved anything in that. Seth Rollins versus Rey Mysterio. It was a Seth Rollins Rey Mysterio match. It featured distractions from the Judgment Day, the Judgment Day. Johnny Gargano and Kevin Owens versus Alpha Academy was fun. Although I'm a little nervous that they're already throwing Johnny Gargano in tag teams rather than having him just fucking run shit. But did feature, oh, that was the big news, the return of Candice LeRae.
Yeah, with a win.
With a win. Also setting up, which could theoretically play into the White Rabbit thing, right? Nikki Cross potentially going back to crazy Nikki Cross, which would fit in very well with no matter which way the Bray Wyatt White Rabbit thing goes, right?
We've seen that girl lead a lunatic faction very, very well. That's why I'm just astonished. Like, when you see the people that were in, what was the name of her group? Sanity.
Sanity, yeah.
And Eric
Young.
Eric Young being the premier wrestler of that group. Wolf. Eric Young being the premier wrestler of that group, you really do realize that Nikki Cross carried that group on mic work, which is fucking phenomenal.
Killian Dane, that was the other one. Couldn't remember there. I knew there was a couple others in there, but Alexander Wolf, Killian Dane, Eric Young, Sawyer Fulton, and Nikki Cross.
And as I said, she carried that group. There was a feud with Asuka, which was gold. Now, she didn't beat Asuka, but that feud was gold. Like, how do you prepare for Nikki Cross? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I want from a crazy group. So her along with Bray would be... And what a great way to send Alexa back to being normal. Have her take that from Alexa.
Yep.
So, anyway... Those were my big ones. We're going to forever disagree. Saraya got a shit promo. My biggest issue with it is that she shit on the women's division. I've changed the division. Come out here, AEW Women's Interim Champion.
Well, she then said, hey, you are the best women's champion we've had. You are doing a great job. I don't think she shit on that there. I think the point of it was her saying, listen, I've come here to help elevate the women's division and help bring focus onto it. And so now I'm going to do this. And so she went and immediately called Toni Storm the best women's champion that AEW has had. Which, I'm going to point out, I love me some Toni Storm, but she's had 2 title defenses, I think, if even that, since winning it. I hesitate to say that puts her in the best women's champion that we have list.
Yeah.
But...
Boy, I will tell you, in AEW Women's Wrestling, I am jacked about Jamie Hayter. Her match was fucking great.
I wish they would have just pulled the trigger on her turn, though. Because as long as she's in Britt Baker's stable, she's always going to be second fiddle to Britt Baker.
So do you think that changes a la Evolution? I think that's an okay thing to do. I know that people will make comparisons and they will shit on it. But I feel like that changes a la Evolution. the style that, hey, good job, Randy, thumbs up, and then drop him, or
possibly
hey, turn on Batista.
I think more than likely it's gonna be sets up a triple threat match for the women's title that is set up, Britt Baker versus Tony Storm versus Jamie Hayter, set up to make it look like it's unfair to Tony Storm, and then Jamie Hayter turns on Britt Baker in the match and costs her the match.
Tony retains at that point.
Tony retains at that point, and then sets up a program, Jamie Hayter versus Britt Baker. That's what I think is most likely to happen. Something similar, at least. Maybe a fatal four-way with a turn, or a Rumble match with a turn, or something. But
so you think it's a Hayter turn on Britt, not a Britt turn on Hayter?
I think it's going to be a Hayter turn on Britt at the right moment.
Quote unquote, learning her lesson from previous times where this has happened.
I mean, they might tease a Britt turn, and then it'd be Hayter doing the turn before
prepared
Britt,
for it.
Yeah, before Britt can do the turn. Either way,
Rebel's gonna put her up on her shoulders, and Britt just starts beating into Rebel, and then comes after Jamie. That'd be great.
Or again, a like a fatal four-way or whatever, and there's a moment where Britt grabs the championship belt, and Toni Storm's not in the ring, and she looks like she's about to hit Jamie Hayter with it. And then Toni Storm comes up into the ring, and then Britt instead hits Toni Storm with it, but then instead of when she goes to cover, Jamie Hayter then takes her out. Or something like that.
Or while she's doing big boot to the face, while she's doing the lockjaw to Toni Storm.
You could even do it in a non-title match where she then hits Toni Storm with it, and then Jamie Hayter hits Britt Baker with a big move and pins Toni Storm, and now is the de facto #1 contender, which then makes Britt even more angry. Something like that. You had Sami Zayn versus AJ Styles. Just another put over Sami Zayn. Good match always, but Matt Riddle versus Damian Priest, which of course led to
a beatdown of Matt Riddle.
And then Edge challenging Balor to the I Quit match at Extreme Rules. Balor.
That's is that Jamie Baylor? Maybe that's Bailey in Baylor Club.
No, what I need to do is draw a picture of Finn Balor, but then put him in University Baylor colors, and then call him Finn Balor.
That works.
SmackDown, you had Ricochet and Madcap Moss versus Sami Zayn and Solo Sikoa. Of course, we knew that was going to end up with Solo Sikoa helping secure the win for the Bloodline. Drew McIntyre versus Austin Theory. Nice to see he's gotten his name back fully.
Yeah. Boy, I really feel like with that particular wrestler, I feel like WWE is trying to figure out how not to shit on the Money in the Bank.
I think they're setting up a storyline with him being the underdog cash-in, where he keeps losing, but they were doing something before Johnny Gargano came back with Kevin Owens kind of pitching to him, you could be so much more. And I kind of thought they were going to have a Kevin Owens takes him under his wing sort of a thing, but then they didn't do that. But then in this, Kevin Owens came out to save Drew McIntyre, so I don't know.
I really again. I'm going to say that feels like WWE. Like Trips does not know where he's going with that Money in the Bank.
Well,
Like that particular thing almost needed to be cashed in the John Deere Ring of Death match, and lost.
I think they are going to have it be a successful cash in. And I think that comes down to
We can have him lose tomorrow.
we can have them lose whenever, sort of thing. I think it's going to be the shock cash in that maybe is how Roman loses one of the belts. But in the end, it comes down to
At some point, they have to have Roman defend the belt separately, not unified.
mm-hmm.
And that
Well,
might
that's why
be
I think
hey, you can only the next night he has both titles, and Paul Heyman says I was on the phone with legal all day, and unfortunately your cash in is only good for one title. You need to bring the Universal title back out here as you are a member of Raw, or you are a member. Well,
I had to buy some of these for my daughter's soccer game, and so I stole one.
how's soccer going?
I mean, it's toddler soccer. It's 4 and under soccer, so it's just fucking
Powerbomb, compliments of Captain Insano.
Yeah, just fucking chaos out there. But
Chaos with the ball.
But I'm not entirely sure soccer is the sport for my daughter. So she gets very upset that the other team doesn't ever let her kick the ball. And she's not as fast of a runner as some of the other kids are, so she spends a lot of the time chasing the ball. And of course, 4 and under soccer, there's no goalie position, so she can't just play goalie or play defense. So she's just is out there running around, and then she comes over and has to sit down for a while because her legs are tired. And we're like, "But your team needs you," and she's like, "I don't care."
I had my own experience with that, with somebody allowing my son to quit football for a week, and me stepping in and saying, "Whoa, we don't quit anything we start. You finish your season at the very minimum." That was an interesting few days. Also managed to hear that person on the phone with my son say, "Well, you can't quit," regarding Taekwondo that he hasn't started yet. How strange. So I'm proud of you for saying, "Hey, your team needs you," even though she's 4. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
And the problem was, like, she had a game today, and this was a makeup game due to a rained out game, right? Uh-huh. And of course, first of all, 4 and under soccer is absolutely a blast to watch. I'm telling you, it's controlled chaos. It's not even controlled. It's just chaos. It's hilarious. Chaos. It's just fun. But they typically they practice for like half an hour, and then they play for half an hour, and they don't even keep score because it's 4 and under and no one cares, right? But because this was a makeup game, normally they play on Saturdays and this was on Sunday. Only 2 players from my daughter's team, my daughter being one of them, were able to make it today. And that is not enough for
2 players a soccer team does not make.
Yes. And so the other team they just kind of teamed up, and they split up into 2 teams, and so she was playing with some people she didn't really know, and then the coach for the other team came up with this idea. Let's keep this game rolling. So he just carried a couple balls, and so if the ball went out of bounds, instead of chasing it down and doing a throw in or a kick in or whatever, he just tossed the ball and just kept the play going. But my daughter had a hard time with that, so she would chase the ball all the fuck away across the whatever, because she didn't realize that
she got to kick it. That's all right.
So
you're saying she's not doing like flip pass ins or anything like that?
yeah, they're not.
Pass.
Today they didn't do it. Normally they do, but today they didn't.
Nobody does a front flip pass in at 4 years old. Nobody.
She tries. I mean, maybe not on purpose, but she tries.
Will they jump, land on the ball, and flip it over their head?
When a 4-year-old runs with a ball, there's a very good chance they end up tripping, flipping over, and then throwing the ball. I told you it's not on purpose.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, that's fun. That's fun, and those are fun little events to do. And I think we've pretty much we haven't recapped Bailey's match though on SmackDown. So
yeah, I haven't gotten all the way done. Hit Row versus Los Lotharios. I was looking something up that. Hit Row versus Los Lotharios. I really could give a crap about Hit Row. Don't care.
I don't. I think BFAB might be the reason to have Hit Row. But boy, I'm not all in on.
I think they could have BFAB without Hit Row, and I'd be fine.
I even think the bigger dude's probably a pretty decent wrestler, but I'm just not sold. This is why Titus matters. Let's just say. Because I feel like you could do Titus Worldwide with Hit Row and in a heartbeat. But again, we've already made our own plans for Titus Worldwide.
You had Ronda Rousey versus Natalya. Featured Liv Morgan come out with a baseball bat and say you don't need to wait till Extreme Rules.
I just want fucking Liv Morgan. Like, let's put the haters to rest and have Liv Morgan just go batshit and beat the hell out of Ronda with a kendo stick and baseball bat and hell taser if you want.
Okay. This is what I was trying to look up here. What it comes down to is, I think they're wanting to make sure that they keep the successful cash-in streak going for the Austin Theory. Here's what it came down to. They had back in 2017, Baron Corbin lost his cash-in. Braun Strowman the next year, it went to DQ.
Yep.
So non-successful. Since then, they had Brock, Miz, Big E, right? Keeping in mind, Miz didn't win the Money in the Bank ladder match.
Otis did.
Otis did, but he won the belt or the briefcase from Otis in a court case. But anyways, so I think they're going to keep Austin Theory, keep that streak going, because they have had in the past 10 years 3 unsuccessful cash-ins, right?
They had the Cena one.
Well, yeah, I guess that makes it 4. John Cena won. Damian Sandow was unsuccessful in cashing in. Baron Corbin was unsuccessful. And Braun Strowman went to no contest.
They also had one time, and they should have learned from that, hands down, or 2 times now, where a guy took the Money in the Bank from somebody else in some way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. And that was Kennedy to Edge, and that was, which was a good move, but it still devalues the Money in the Bank. And Otis, which was just horribly done. Oh, shit, what do we do now?
Yeah. Well, yeah, the Otis thing.
I really think the appropriate Otis move, and I know if you go back to our episodes early on in the show, this was my suggestion way back then. I think Otis should have cashed in for the tag titles.
I think that's fine. I think some recent news that hit uh, makes the Otis winning, and then, oh shit, what do we do? Make a whole lot more sense. And that is the news that came out a couple weeks ago that reportedly Vince Russo had been a consultant for WWE for the past 5 years.
What?
Yes. I think it was 5 years. Let me look it up.
Whose ear was he in? Well, obviously Vince's.
Uh-huh. Yeah, he talked about it in his podcast recently, where he says since let me see if I can find the dates for it.
That was just such an ugly way to have that match go. You could have had.
Technically, apparently, he said he was working as a consultant for USA Network in regards to WWE from 2020 to just earlier this year.
Crash TV, bro. Have Otis win it.
It says right before WrestleMania from 2020 to 2022. I kind of feel like Otis winning was a Vince Russo idea because it had all the hallmarks of Vince Russo. Crash TV, not thinking about what
do
happens
both the
next.
matches at the same time in the Titan Towers.
Yeah, put them together, same time
on the roof. Have somebody thrown off the roof and show up tomorrow night, even though they didn't die.
And then we have the fat guy win. That'll be hilarious.
After he breaks the ladder because he can't climb it because he's fat.
He's fat. But what happens next? I don't know, bro. We'll figure that out. So I think what I guess I'm getting at is I think they want to reestablish the successful cash-in streak a little bit longer before they have an unsuccessful.
Well,
inversely,
heel cash in dirty ways is a good way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Inversely, we're looking at 5 years in a row. Importantly, all 5 years that they've had a women's Money in the Bank,
that there was a successful.
There's been successful cash-ins. So I do think that we might be getting close to time for an unsuccessful cash-in there, because it does also have to feel like not a guaranteed something.
Yes. Oh, I would agree with that. I just, the one thing that I absolutely hate is the take it off the person who won it.
No, man. Yeah, the only way I ever like that is if it's a part of the deal from the beginning. The Wrestle Kingdom contract in New Japan, where you have to defend it one time. The yes. Well, you have to defend it, and then if you lose, then they now have it, and then they do.
They have to defend it.
But the X Division,
only a Bound for Glory.
Yeah, cash it in, but you can lose that belt to someone else who then can use it. If it's part of the rules for the thing, I'm fine with it. I don't like just arbitrarily saying, Miz is taking the guy to court.
With JBL as the
JBL is going to be the
judge,
and then he's gonna.
Yeah, I also really, I think at some juncture we have to get to the point where the guy doesn't find an opportunity, and that might be the time to do it.
Yeah, that's the thing I've been saying is even you have. I mean, fucking Otis would have been a good enough spot to do it. A person who holds on to it for the full fucking year. Maybe looking for an opportunity, or maybe not looking, just enjoying that he's the Money in the Bank.
Tucky, no, I won this case. I get to keep the case.
Well, just I'm the Money in the Bank winner. I get my shot. I'll take my shot when I'm ready for it. And then them coming and saying, "Hey, Money in the Bank is tonight.
We need the case, bud.
We need the case back. You didn't use it, so now it's time for someone else to have a shot." Wait, what? Yeah, you didn't get it forever. You just get it until
the next Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank. You didn't use it in time.
Oh,
Tucky. Anyways.
Yeah, Tucky.
Imperium beating Sheamus down, and then Shotzi versus Bailey.
That was a fire match. It was a great match.
Then the the trios: McIntyre, Kevin Owens, and Johnny Gargano versus Austin Theory and Alpha Academy to close the show.
They're doing something there. I just can't place my thumb on it, and I don't have a clue. I don't know.
Before we get to,
I don't know if it's going to be good or not.
Let's do another couple packs here. 1 through 4.
Oh, Ambrosia.
Ambrosia's going to say 21.
We'll do
so
2
and 1.
In that order. She's there, but I think she's sleeping.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Our lull of voices makes it yes.
Yes. Oh, she is here.
Oh, fuck, she's here.
Number 1.
Shelton Benjamin. Still wrestling for WWE, huh?
Mm-hmm. Another person we have talked about in this show.
There we go. You got your 21 in. Bruno Sammartino. Notice they didn't put the old WWF logo on there. Or WWE logo on there.
Mm-hmm.
I find that odd. They usually do that with those throwbacks. Oh, hey, whoa, hey, hold on. Oh, hey, whoa, never mind. Sorry, I was going to talk about Ambrosia taking a bath, but ours is better. Ambrosia's better than Becky Lynch.
And then my chase card, a silver of...
Boy, that is the best pack you've done tonight.
That is potentially... It might be one of the best packs as a whole. And then pack number 1, which is actually the second of these packs that I open. Off to a good start.
Merch, streamelements.com, Ron Order WVU. Mick Foley.
As general manager, Mick Foley.
Yep.
I almost throw it on the ground. A
Jordan Devlin. Trained by one Finn Balor.
Mm-hmm. I actually get 2 sort of chase cards in this one. A select of Charlotte Flair. And I really like this one. A Global Icons select hollow of Mako Satomura.
That is a beautiful card.
It really is. It's a really nice card. I'm very happy with that one.
I'm happy with it too.
That was a good
you're
pack
happy.
Too. That was a good pack too. 2 more for later. Okay.
All right, let's talk AEW.
Let's talk
other than
the Saraya.
Yeah,
we've talked about that.
I don't want to fucking hear it.
So we started off the JAS Championship celebration, where he's celebrating his Ring of Honor championship
for the non-GOAT,
the pinnacle of sports entertainers. Definitely not the GOAT though. Here's my thing with this. Okay, I'm gonna go back on that just a second here. Because that was the other thing he said, that him winning the Ring of Honor makes no sense, and I don't understand how people can't see the sense that this makes. This makes perfect sense when you're
Him winning the Pure Championship would not make sense.
No. Well, but it wouldn't make sense, but it would from this standpoint. Remember what his gimmick is. His gimmick is the sports entertainer. Yeah. His gimmick is continuing to say a sports entertainer beats a wrestler every day, right? Yeah. And when you're talking about the the Ring of Honor wrestling heavy fans, the Ring of Honor wrestling heavy promotion,
boy, what a great heel.
What a great heel to have as your champion is the sports entertainer, right? And then you have the real wrestlers prove themselves against them, sure. Right? So you have the Cesaros, the Bryan Danielsons, the Daniel Garcias, the fucking Jonathan Greshams.
Hell, if you want, you have the Kenny Omegas. Mm-hmm. Because you have the ability to switch your wrestlers back and forth.
Mm-hmm. I don't think they're going to for the most part, but
they can.
But they could. If they so decide. I think they're going. I think they're likely going to set a for the most part.
Oh, you got a visitor.
Oh, hey baby, what's going on? Okay, hold on 1 second while I figure this out.
Yeah, I'll come back on screen.
What's going on, baby?
Oh.
Come and talk. Okay.
So we're gonna let him be a dad, and in the meantime, we're gonna talk about Saraya's promo. Man, it just somebody get in the comments and tell us what you think. We're gonna let Smarks be a dad, and that's really cool. But Saraya, there was an interruption from. So Saraya calls for all of the wrestlers to come out, and when they all come out, it's only the right hand tunnel or left hand if you're coming out of the tunnel. So it's only the good wrestlers, the good guys, and you got Athena and Saraya. Saraya's out of the ring. You got Toni Storm, a whole plethora of people, and then you just wait, and you got to wait for the heels to come in. So. Of course, Britt Baker cuts a promo as she comes out. There's Dirty Eyes, the stink eye from Saraya to Britt Baker to Saraya. This is all leading up to a Toni Storm match with Serena Deeb. Both of whom, in my opinion, can cut better promos than this was. And I know a lot of people hated the Serena Deeb promo a little while back. I did not hate that one. Smarks did hate that one. So you can do with it what you want, but at the end of the day, ugly promo. Since we're maybe at the commercial, or ideally we're probably not, I'm going to talk about the Husker football game that happened last night. The Huskers won. They're really not very good right now. And so it was a very, 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 very sloppy game. But we had the Huskers play, and looks like we're about to get a guy back. So we'll bring him back on here. There he is. That was a first.
That was a first.
What a wonderful little helper we had there.
Yeah, she must have, I don't know, had a bad dream or something, woke up. But
that's okay. We liked having her. Her. So we talked a little bit about Saraya while you were gone. It wasn't we, but and then talked the Huskers winning. Did you watch the game?
I did not. I did not get to watch the game.
It was incredibly sloppy. Yeah. Did I mention that earlier? Very sloppy.
You did, but I appreciate it.
It's worth a watch because they won, and I know you are a fan.
I said before a long time ago, It's easier to be a Husker fan when you don't have to deal with other Husker fans.
I intentionally do not watch the games at bars because they are bad.
When I lived down in New Orleans, I could be a Husker fan because I was the only Husker fan for 200 or 300 miles usually. But it can be tough. Now, I live in Omaha, which, if you ask the rest of the state, doesn't count as Nebraska. And
I have never ruled you out as part of Nebraska.
most of the rest of the state does.
But you guys do have your own sporting teams everywhere except for football.
Yeah. But on top of it, the thing with Omaha is we're close enough to Iowa, and there's enough cross pollination where there are enough people
the worst
who grew up in Council Bluffs who now live in Omaha, and enough people who grew up in Omaha who now live in Council Bluffs, that there does get to be a little bit of Iowa.
Did you find it weird how quickly there was some type of weird rivalry when Nebraska joined the Big 12 or Big 10? Like, immediately how quickly Iowa fans were like, yeah, fuck them. You're just like, and some Nebraska fans were this way too.
Yeah.
Just how quickly people were like, fuck them.
I think the Iowa fans were angry because we came into the Big 10 thinking we were big dogs. And
for a couple of years we were.
And so they got defensive. Well, I don't know if we were big dogs. We were medium-sized dogs.
Yes, we were able to be in the match with Wisconsin. Now we're not even that.
But I've said it before. The problem when we joined Big 10 was we started off in the Big 12, and before that the Big 8. We were the big dogs in that, right?
Yes. We shared the limelight with Oklahoma in the Big 8, and a little bit Colorado when they were good, and K-State when they were good. And then in the Big 12, we shared the limelight with Texas and Oklahoma.
Yep. And so we were the ones running the place, right? And then we joined the Big 12 or the Big 10, and suddenly, we're in the same overall thing as Michigan, who are big dogs. We've got Michigan State's a big dog. Penn State has been
Ohio
big
State
dogs for a while. Yeah, Ohio State,
one of the big dogs.
And so there were a lot of these big dogs here, and we came in, and we weren't horrible to start off with, but we also weren't top tier at that point.
No.
And I think that's part of where the rivalry came in. They felt like we came in expecting to be the national champions. Because we did. We came in expecting
we still
to
do.
Be.
That's why we fire coaches every 4 years.
Yeah. And so but it's I think that we found the competition is harder in conference, or
than we expected it to be. Yes,
than we expected it to be, and in some ways, I'm not. Here's the deal: financially speaking, moving to the Big 10, super success, right? We get so much more money for scholarships, so much more, advantages and everything. I think from a competition standpoint, we maybe wish we hadn't done that. We maybe wish we had stayed in the Big 12 where we could be the fucking big dogs.
The big dogs.
Anyways, the whole Daniel Garcia thing, back to wrestling, because what we're supposed to be talking.
Is that what our podcast is?
It's technically yes. Until I get another interruption from my daughter, we'll talk wrestling. The Daniel Garcia thing in the JS, where he refused to put on the bucket hat, and all of that was really good. And then of course Bryan Danielson coming out and standing up for Garcia, which is now gonna have Daniel Garcia and Bryan Danielson versus Jericho and Guevara. That should be fun.
Sammy Guevara.
Bryan Danielson versus Daddy Magic Matt Menard was a fun match, but nothing super special. I have been enjoying this mini feud Wheeler Yuta versus MJF, where Wheeler Yuta comes out and starts talking, and MJF interrupts him. And Wheeler Yuta is not exactly known for his mic skills. And this is probably the best way to help him hone his mic skills by putting him against one of the best speakers on the mic.
Correct. Right? Yes.
Who can deliver lines like "You have about as much charisma as Joe Frazier current day."
Harsh.
You had Juice Robinson versus John Moxley in a World Championship Eliminator match, which is always one of those stupid names. I don't like the name World Championship Eliminator match, because it means it's not a World Championship match. But if you win it, then you get a World Championship match, which I think is. I've always hated that.
You get to be eliminated from a world championship match.
Yeah, just fucking give him a world championship match. We already knew Juice Robinson wasn't going to win, right? You're not going to have Juice Robinson come in and immediately win the championship, right? But still fun. We'll skip over the Saraya thing. Toni Storm versus Serena Deeb as a lumberjack match.
Notice they didn't call it a lumberjill match.
They actually the Taz tried to call it a lumberjill match, and Saraya said, "No, we're inclusive. We call it lumberjack match." And then that was it. But they did mention that. Lumberjack matches are kind of a sticking point for me.
You'd like to see more of them?
No, it's very hard for a lumberjack match to be done right, to be done well, right? Okay. And this is an example of it not being done well, right? So in this match, you had the faces on one side, the heels on the other side, and the story was told. Oh, Serena Deeb goes out. She goes out on the face side. The faces just pick her up and throw her back in. Toni Storm goes out on the heel side. The heels beat her up for a while before sending her back in. And then there's the inevitable showdown on the outside between the faces and the heels, and then it breaks down. And it's just like, It just doesn't do it. Like, if instead they did it where it was an underdog story, right? Where it was the face champion inside the ring and the entire outside was heels. And so she knew if she got thrown out, she was going to get beat up. So then the whole story they tell is that she's doing everything she can to not get thrown out of the ring. That tells something, right? If you do it the other way, where the entire outside are the faces and the heel has to find the best ways that she can cheat inside the ring without help. I get it and everything, but most of the time they just kind of fall flat and very like cut and paste. Okay, this is the way it always done. So I don't know. I kind of think we could do for a while without lumberjack matches for a while, but Ricky Starks came out and just destroyed some guy. I remember what his name is. Eli Isom. That's great. I want to see Ricky Starks beat good people. I don't know.
Fair.
And then the World Championship match: Bandito versus Chris Jericho for the Ring of Honor World Championship. A good match. Jericho won. In the end, though, apparently backstage, people were really impressed with Bandito as a whole. This isn't the first time we've seen him on AEW, but it's the first time in a while. So, reportedly, they've offered him a contract, but we haven't got confirmation that that he signed it. So, we may be seeing more of Bandito.
Fair.
Yeah. Moving on to Rampage. Acclaimed versus Private Party versus Butcher and Blade. The Acclaimed did their whole entrance where they ripped everyone apart on the way, which is why they're the most popular tag team in
Absolutely.
at least.
Because they have no mercy regardless of where you fall in any spectrum whatsoever. Heel, face, political, does not matter. They're going to shred you.
And then they're going to come in and say, "Sister me, daddy ass."
Until they're no longer scissoring with daddy ass.
Fuego del Sol got to wrestle on TV.
Is it just me, or does the father-son thing seem like it doesn't really work?
What do you mean? Like,
just as a whole, it doesn't seem like, I don't know. Father-son matches don't seem like they really work that great.
I'm not sure I'm following where the father-son match is.
Well, no, earlier with Billy Gunn and was it Colton that he faced in the ring?
They may have faced them afterwards, but they weren't part of the match. So
no, earlier, not this week. It was a different week altogether.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there was the whole when the Acclaimed beat the Ass Boys for custody of Daddy Ass.
Correct. Yes.
Well, I think with that, the storyline always was going, how do we get Austin and Colton out of Billy Gunn's shadow? As long as, yes, he was a boon to them to start off with, but eventually they needed to go someplace else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as long as he was there, he was holding them back. So they needed to find some way to get them out from under him. Now they got them as part of the firm and keeping them well away from him, and I think that's fine. Again, Fuego got destroyed by Lee Moriarty of the firm. Fuego has settled into the jobber role very well. But I don't know if I were him, I'd be getting kind of frustrated. Moving on, Jamie Hayter versus Willow Nightingale. This was probably the match that impressed the crap out of you.
Yes, it did.
Heels
doing heel shit too.
Yep. I've been a fan of Willow Nightingale, so to me, Willow Nightingale was the star of this to me. But that's not that Jamie Hayter wasn't good. It's like I'm a fan of Willow Nightingale. So
that's a fair statement.
And then for the main event, Roosh versus John Silver. Roosh also, it has been announced, is now officially All Elite. He has signed an official contract with AEW. Whereas before he was on a per appearance thing.
Very cool.
So, if anyone out there tells you that they thought John Silver was going to win this, they're a damn liar.
Well, I mean, people who haven't ever seen a Roosh match.
Yeah. And I love me some Johnny Hungy. But Johnny Hungy's like...
Got a mid-card dream, buddy.
5'10", maybe 6 foot. Let's find out. He is billed at 5'5". I was giving him too much credit. He's even shorter than me. And Roosh is not.
Shorter than you's tough.
Yeah. Roosh is 6'0". 6 foot even. And outweighs him by a good 30 pounds. And Johnny Hungy is not a lightweight.
A little person by any means, no.
But this was going to be a big thing here. It still was a fun match, though, so I really enjoyed it. But that was this week in televised professional wrestling in America. So before we wrap things up, final 2 packages.
2 more. 2 more. Dos más.
So let's get another pack to make up for giving me fucking chase card of Dom. I don't know if I'll ever forgive you. Ooh.
Dude, they can't hear you. The people who made the pack.
That's fine. I can still never forgive them. I think this means all I have left is Roman, and I think I've got the bloodline.
Well, and I think that because you have Sammy in a Uso role, don't you?
The card, I don't think it shows him in.
It doesn't have the honorary Us shirt because obviously
he just got it, but
yeah.
But I think I have him. And I have the other Uso, I believe, Shotzi, and I think I've got Solo Sikoa too. Katana Chance, FKA Casey Catanzaro. I like that card. And letting me down, guys. Letting me down. My chase card.
Ooh.
That's a fucking
Omos. Orange Omos. They almost got that one right.
Okay. Last pack. Okay, this pack might be a winner. Oh, I just dropped one of the cards.
Pick me a winner.
First card.
Indy.
Hartwell.
Dexter Lumis's kayfabe wife.
Mm-hmm.
Thought we'd see something with that, and we haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah.
Eddie
Guerrero.
Also belongs in a GOAT conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not the GOAT.
A very good
Cora Jade.
Rookie card of Cora Jade.
So is that showing butt, or is that just high leg?
I'd call that high leg, but
what does that picture qualify as?
I would call it high leg. And then a very nice prismatic
Braun Breaker. Beautiful rookie card.
Yeah. I believe that's Champa he's throwing out. So not the worst pack for that last one, but okay, where's my Uso? I'm gonna put my ooses together. Come here, oos. Fucking Dominic Mysterio.
You're okay, buddy. You're okay. Bring it in. You're okay, buddy.
Still fucking angry about it.
You gonna be okay?
I'm gonna pull out the Rikishi one because he might not technically be in the bloodline, but he's in the bloodline.
I don't think any of us have had a Roman card in any way, shape, or form. I might have.
I'm pretty sure I did in
Prismatic.
No, the first set, the one that looked like the classics. I'm pretty sure that I had a Roman in that. But here I can actually, my prismatics I have right over here. So I can check. Nope. I did not have a Roman in the prismatics, so, but I'm pretty sure the other ones I did. But yeah, so Roman's the only bloodline I'm missing. I think my favorite pack I've opened so far is the one that had the regular and Chase Rikishi back to back. But I can't believe I now have chases of both Omos and fucking
Dominic.
Dominic.
Same box.
Fuckity fuck. Anywho's. On that note, let's go ahead and wrap things up for this. Some controversy in this episode. A little back and forth.
Yeah, you're wrong.
I am right about you being wrong, but that's beside the point.
You're wrong about me being wrong, and you're wrong. It's okay.
No. I disagree.
Obviously.
And because I'm right. That's why I disagree. But on that note, we're going to go ahead and start to wrap things up. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform you use to listen to it, if you're listening to it. If you are interested, we do the live stream on Twitch exclusive. Sunday nights and Tuesday nights are our live stream nights for it. Looking to try to find a night to do a live stream watch along of something. We've played with the idea of starting a series where we do watch-alongs of like every episode of Nitro during the 83 weeks. But we have to find a time, and that's a little tough because we got 3 schedules to deal with. But anyways, right now, twitch.tv/Raw in Order WBU is where you watch us live. We highly recommend you go there to watch us. Because you can be there live. We're still going to put them up eventually on the YouTube and the audio platforms, so you can still listen to us the old-fashioned way, but Twitch is where you get to see it live. And first, because it has to be exclusive to Twitch for at least 24 hours. Part of our agreement. If you subscribe to us on Twitch, you also don't have to worry about commercials ever playing. Because right now, there's a chance that our Twitch people are listening to a commercial and can't see us.
Those poor Twitch people.
Except if they're a subscriber, then they get it commercial free. No commercials whatsoever. And if you are an Amazon Prime member, you get 1 free subscription a month. right? You could choose to subscribe to us for a month, choose to subscribe to something else for the next month. It's all good, right? And it's free included. So it's a great way to do things there. Make sure to follow us on the social medias. You can follow me at Raw and Order WBU, like it says right there. Boom, boom, boom. Unless you're on Facebook, where it's at Pissant Podcast, because Facebook has its reasons, right? You can follow DA Fabe at
there. DA Vincent K. Fabe on Twitter.
Yes. And then you can follow JLB at all the places. You're going to see the fucking link in the description on Twitch or in the doobly-doos if you're watching or listening to this elsewhere. That's going to have the link tree with all of the links that you need in there. But on that note, we're going to go ahead and close the book. Thank you all for listening. We will see you soon.
Deuces.